Okay, so now we get to work on the second layer of these cupcakes, which is really exciting because then you start seeing the painting really take shape. And I'm gonna start with this one over here just because it's my favorite. So many vibrant colors. I'm gonna go for a darker green this time. And what that really just means is, less water usually. And I'm just gonna go ahead and fill in these little wee gaps in between here. It was white. I'm going to add just a little bit of this black in here. Now you can use black when you're painting. It's just that you have to use really tiny amounts because otherwise, as you may have found out, it can be really overpowering. So just a little bit of that gives me a nice darker color for those little in-between places on the cupcake right there. And also on the inside, I'm going to put some little lines right around here. So I'm just going for some of those key details right now. And now I also want to put some more detail on the red flower because that's an important part of that cupcake. I'm going to take some more red, and I want you guys to see how I do this. I just put little lines, dashes right there. And I also want to go for some darker brown because right in between the bottom of the icing is where you're going to see a wee bit of a shadow. So I just put kind of like a little triangular shape with some darker brown in there all along the edge. And then I might soften this out with a little bit of water. And then I'm going to take some yellow and brown. To show some of the darker parts there of the icing. That makes it look more 3D. And on this little cupcake, it has a yellow center. So I'm going to take some yellow, a little dot right there on top. Okay. And then I want to start working on this one in front. And it needs another wash. We put it down a really light wash first. Now we're going to go over the top, sort of a glaze of turquoise, or you could use blue. By the way, when you're painting these cupcakes, you can make them any color that you want. And that's the really fun thing about cupcakes. All kinds of amazing, bright colors. So I put a glaze of that on there, then some yellow mixed with a wee bit of brown. And I'm just going to stipple some color on there just because it makes the center look a little bit more 3D. And I'm going to go ahead now and take some dark brown with the tip of my brush. And I am going to create these little wiggly shapes all the way along here. Moving my brush up and down all along there. And then I might take a little bit more of some of the darker brown and then pull the brush downwards so we get the groove in between right here. I'm going to move back over to this cupcake and I want to put some dark brown hearts because these are little chocolate hearts. And so I'm going to do the outline first, just like that, and then I'm going to fill it in with the brown color. And I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to make another little heart right here and then just go ahead and fill it in. taking some darker brown now. I'm going to create some little dashes and pull it down. I'm also going to move over to this cupcake in the background, the one that has chocolate icing, and I'm going to show you how we can get some real nice shadows in there to make that icing really look more 3D and more realistic. So it'll be a bit dark underneath the cherry, and then some strokes here. There. Same thing with the cupcake itself, just stippling some color right in there. And then also little strokes in between so that the top of the cupcake looks more realistic. I might come back and pull a bit more detail on this after those layers have dried. I now want to move to this cupcake here, which is really another fun one because I really love those little rosettes. And what I'm going to do for that is go with a darker color. This is like the third layer. And so I'm going to take a darker blue, a little puddle here, and then I'm going to make a little circle right in the middle. And then I'm going to switch my brushes out. A brush that's a little bit more pointier. It really works for more details when you use a pointier brush. And I like to switch my brushes out in my tools that I use for painting a lot because then I can get different kind of effects on my painting. Twist the brush around so I have a nice point. Once again, I'll put a few more of those little curvy shapes. And then I'm going to take the tippy tip of the brush and make some little skinny lines. Right in here, there's another one. And then also right on the base, some darker lines for more emphasis. A little bit more turquoise. And then I'm going to shade one side a little bit darker. Right there. Some brown. So slowly building up all of those layers so we really have more details, and watching this come together on the page and emerge is so exciting. Okay, and then once again, I'm going to go a little bit darker in the center of that rosette, give it more definition, and put some darker lines. They're just little curves. Build up that rose shape. Right there. Now, this is a cupcake that has white icing. Whenever you're painting white, it can be a challenge. There's different ways you can go about that. One is to make a little puddle of gray paint. Mixing black with lots of water is a good color. You can create, I like to mix a wee bit of blue with it, just so it's not, it's more like a shadow color. And then I'm going to show you what you can do, is you can create a little bit of color right here. And I'm just going to mix this backwards and forwards. So there's a little bit of a shadow. It's very light, very pale. Okay. Sort of like the color that we use for the icing on this one up here. And I'm going to take the same color that I have here, and then I'm going to go over the top of some of these other strokes that have now completely dried, and I'm going to step up my value to make it darker. Values go from light to dark in watercolor, and that's how you can make your paintings look realistic, is by using those light, medium, and dark values. Okay, so I'm also going to come back over here now with that same grey, painting in some of the little grooves for the cupcake right there. And then I'm going to put some grey across here. Just filling in all of those white gaps. Taking some more grey right now. And then I'm going to start working on some other shadows. For instance, on this little daisy. Using some grey will help this white daisy pop out a little bit more. And then I'm going to go for a darker value on some of the icing. So this is blue and turquoise mixed together on my palette. And what I'm going to do with that is go ahead and paint in some sections of darker value right there. Little section there. Think of these like colorful shapes. And think about how dark you're going to paint it before you do. That'll really help you nail that color. So here's a shape here. Here's another shape there. Here's a line that goes around. Go a little bit darker now. And I'm just going to influence this color so it's a wee bit darker. In here. And then taking some more, because I think I could paint this in by moving my brush up and down, and it's going to make the top of that cupcake have a good accurate line, kind of a waving line actually, right there. And then I can start pulling the color down just like that in between those little shadows there. Taking some more of the brown, I'm going to move right over to this cupcake. Over here, I want to get some darker shadows, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. I'm going to take a little triangular curve shape right there. And then some darker color. The side there of the cupcake, just pulling that stroke all the way down and across. I'm going to move over to this one in the back because I want to put some dark shadow color on the side of the cherry. This is going to make this look three-dimensional by putting a little darker red. See that? That's our shadow. So we have three values. We have the highlight, the medium value, and then the darker shadow right there. And this is where, if you wanted, you could go ahead and put a little stem on your cherry just to make it look interesting. So I'm going to take my rigger brush. This is what a rigger brush looks like. It's really long and skinny. And I'm going to put a little line that comes out right there. Okay. Okay, I'm going to to my other small brush. There's a good point on it. And one of the things I think I want to do is just jump right in and put some shadows. If you're drawing or painting something that's sitting on a table or a flat surface, it's nice to put a little cast shadow underneath it. A cast shadow is usually a bluish gray. So I have some of this here, purplish, and that will be a great color actually. And you just can make usually an oval shape right underneath your subject. Works really well. It can be light, doesn't need to necessarily be dark. Okay, a little bit more blue. I'm going to put a shadow shape right here. Right here. Right here. And then maybe a little bit more over here. I could always add a little bit more depth of color by grabbing some blue and just going right underneath that cupcake. So now that really does help these look sitting on a surface, and it also adds something to our background. Okay, so I'm going to go for some darker orange because I want to get in a little bit more depth right in here using the tip of my brush. Remember, in the final stages when you're working with watercolor, you really are going for your details, and smaller areas, usually darker values. Going in between those little shapes, just using the tippy tip of my brush. Right in there. Going back to some of my grey, I'm going to take some black and mix lots of water with it, so it's a very soft color. Look how dark that is right now, but if I dump if my brush go into the water, you can see that now I get a nice soft grey. And then I'm going to come back in and just paint in between right here. So it's a wee bit darker. Taking some more grey here. I'm going to just paint this over here. So that really reads as white. And then a little bit more blue, because I want to go in between these shapes, just like that. That gives more depth. Okay. So I'm almost finished with this. I think I'm going to put a little bit more right there. Okay, so that's about as far as I'm going to get with this layer. I'm going to go ahead and let this completely dry off, and I may come back for a third live session and just add a few details using some white paint. That'll just take a few minutes so we can bring this painting to a complete finish.